Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're doing another cartridge comparison. We're going to compare two heavy hitters. We're going to compare the 340 Weatherby Magnum to the 338 Lapua Magnum. We're going to see which one's faster, which one has better downrange performance, which one has cheaper factory ammo. I think you might be surprised on that one. And which one might be better for you. Hope you enjoy the video. In 1963, Roy Weatherby came up with the 340 Weatherby Magnum, and it was an answer to Winchester's 338 Winchester Magnum. 1958, Winchester introduced their 338 Win Mag, which was supposed to be the Alaskan cartridge, the ideal elk cartridge, and so Weatherby kind of wanted to one-up Winchester, and they did exactly that. Basically, Roy took the 300 Weatherby Magnum, which is what this case is, and he necked it up to 338 and called it the 340. What kind of advantage does the 340 Weatherby have over the 338 Win Mag? Let's just look at the velocities, starting with a 200 grain bullet. Hornady says you can get 3,200 feet per second, which is really impressive. And then I feel like what most people use in their 340 Weatherbys is the 225 grain bullets, and you're right at 3,000 feet per second. I've had plenty of people tell me they can actually get it up to 3,100, which is really moving. And then from Hornady, the biggest bullet you can shoot, at least from this book, is a 250 grain, and they're claiming 2,900 feet per second, which that is a lot of power. Now, from Weatherby's factory ammo, you can shoot a 250 grain Nosler partition, nearly 2,950. So I do think you can get a little bit more than what the books say. In 1987, Lapua introduced the 338 Lapua Magnum. Now this is a military cartridge, much like the 30-06 was introduced as a military cartridge. And what militaries wanted, NATO wanted, was a cartridge that was in between the 308 Winchester and the 50 BMG. Now, 5 years before this, Barrett introduced their rifle that could shoot the 50 Browning machine gun cartridge in a packable rifle. And so what the military wanted was something in between this and a 308, power-wise. So they wanted to be able to do long distance shooting than what the 308 Winchester was capable of. And they just wanted a lighter setup than what you got with the Barrett and the 50 BMG. And so this is Lapua's answer for it. And it's been a very successful cartridge. In fact, you could say it might be a little too magical. There's a lot of hype for this cartridge. But let's go ahead and see what this is. So the parent case is the 416 Rigby, neck down. And let's just look at some of this magical performance. Now, I'm being sarcastic. It does actually have pretty darn good performance. So a 200 grain at 3,350 feet per second. The 225 grain at 3,100 feet per second. And the 250 grain at 2,950 feet per second. Now this cartridge is used for long distance shooting, and so Hornady has put in more load data for it. So a 270 ELDX at 2,900, and let's just skip over to the big 300 grain bullet, going at a very respectable 2,750 feet per second. So the 340 Weatherby is a bit slower than the 338 Lapua, especially with the smaller weight bullets. Yeah, it's going to be the 338 Lapua about 100 feet per second faster and 200 grain and probably 225 grain. But what gets really interesting is once you get up to 250 and above, up to 300, they are almost identical, within 25 to 50 feet per second. The 340 Weatherby is right up there with the 338 Lapua. So let's find out which one is a bit more efficient. We're going to look at case capacity and see more numbers with the heavier bullets in the Nosler book. Now onto the Nosler book. which gives me the grain water capacity of the cartridge with the 265 grain AccuBond long range. The case capacity is 88 grains. So, and with reloader 22, yes, you're going to be stuffing the powder a bit full with it, but it's an impressive 2,907 feet per second with a 265 grain bullet. It's very good performance. Now let's step up to a 300 grain bullet, and with the 300 grain bullet, you're maxing out at 2725 feet per second, which is, again, very solid performance from the old 340 Weatherby. Now looking at the 338 Lapua with that 265 grain AccuBond long range, check out the case capacity, 100.4 grains. So it's about 12 grains more capacity, but look at the velocity with reloader 33, and this one is even a very compressed load, just like the 340 Weatherby was, and it's going about not even 20 feet per second faster. So 340 Weatherby is a lot more efficient. Now look at the 300 grain bullet and the max velocity with reloader 33, 2,751 feet per second. Again, about 25 feet per second slower than the 338 Lapua is the 340 Weatherby. So they're extremely close in performance. Let's look at the 340 Weatherby downrange ballistics with a 265 grain AccuBond long range with a very impressive BC of .732. One thing to note with both the 340 Weatherby and the 338 Lapua is a 1 in 10 twist is going to be fast enough for any high BC bullet. So that's a nice thing to have. So your 340 Weatherby is definitely not outdated and can shoot up to 300 grain bullets easily. So the 265 grain going 2,900 feet per second, and its energy at basically 4,950 foot-pounds. It's a lot of power. Recoil, you're going to feel it. Highly recommend a muzzle breaker again. Out to normal hunting distances of 400 yards, the bullet's going 2,410 feet per second. Your energy is extremely impressive, 3,419 foot-pounds. That's more than a 7mm Remington mag at the muzzle. The drop is not too bad. Let's just see what kind of distances it can go while still properly expanding. I would say you're still good out to 900 yards. Now, I'm not trying to say you should hunt animals at 900 yards, but this cartridge just has so much power with the right bullet. It's going 1869 feet per second at 900 and still over 2,000 foot-pounds and only 195 inches of drop. Now on to the 338 Lapua Magnum with the exact same bullet, that 265 grain Nosler AccuBond long range with a muzzle velocity of 2,920 feet per second, just a tad bit quicker than the 340 Weatherby. And then your energy now eclipses 5,000 foot-pounds at the muzzle. Incredible. Recoil, it's a little bit more, but I'm not sure you're going to be able to notice a difference between the two. Now out to typical hunting distances, this is going just a tad bit faster, and the energy is maybe 50 foot-pounds more, so there's not a huge difference between the two. And then the drop, they're almost identical, this one being just a tad bit flatter, barely, within an inch, less than an inch. So let's just see how far we can take this out. I'm just going to take it out to 900 yards, and it is going just a little bit faster. Then again, maybe about 20 or 30 more foot-pounds of energy, and about 4 inches or 3 inches of less drop. So again, they're almost identical with the slightest of an advantage for the 338 Lapua Magnum. If you're willing to take a second mortgage out of your home, you can buy factory ammo for both of these cartridges. Now here's something I never thought I would say, is there is actually more expensive ammo than what Weatherby has to offer. Yes, the 338 Lapua actually costs more than the 340 Weatherby. So what is the difference? Well, on average, your 340 Weatherby ammo is going to roughly cost around $114 for a box of 20, while the 338 Lapua is going to average around over $150 for a box of Lapua ammo. Yes, the 338 Lapua has incredible performance. It's a very good cartridge. There's a reason the military chose it. But I still think it's a little overhyped and pretty overpriced for the performance you're getting. Somehow, the 338 Lapua makes the 340 Weatherby a bargain deal for factory ammo. Finally, which one would I pick between the two? Well, not to be biased, but I would pick the 340 Weatherby Magnum. You're getting almost the same performance, and it's going to be cheaper to make ammo for it, and it's actually more efficient. Not that I've ever cared about that, but I think it's still pretty cool. Let me know in the comments which one you would pick between the two. Hope you enjoyed the video.